Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Burgess Made. In this episode, I'm going to be covering how to change your standard electrical plug the right way. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. All right, so for this job, you're going to need a couple of tools. Number one, I like to use this Volt Alert electrical sensitivity meter. So I don't know, let's see, what does it say? Yeah, it just basically tests whether or not you have any current in your plug. You just hold the button down, turns on, and this thing will stay solid red whenever you have current. That's the first item you're going to need, is a electrical tester to make sure that your plug is not hot before you touch it. Number two, your basic screwdriver. You can also get a what do they call it, 11-in-1 screwdriver. I think we're going to be dealing primarily with just the standard screwdriver today, so we're not going to have to worry about that. You also will need some pair of dikes, cut wire. You can also do that with your wire strippers, but if you want to get closer to the plug to cut off wire, you want to use some dikes. And these are your wire strippers. And you want to get a nice pair of these. These things are important to have a nice pair. Also, we're going to be using some wire nuts, red wire nuts. They're the larger ones. And you're going to need some 12-2 wire. Here I have a big roll of it. See here, 12-2 wire. That's what you're going to need. It's 12 gauge, and it's 2 wires inside of the sleeve. You have your hot and you have your neutral. They don't count the ground in this. That's why they call it 12-2. It's actually 3 wires. They only call it 12-2. So, with that being said, I also recommend getting yourself an ice cold drink, because sometimes this can be a little hard work. So let's get right into it, and I'll show you how to disassemble this plug. All right, one thing I forgot, electrical tape. Definitely gonna need some electrical tape for this. So I'm gonna move this stuff out of the way. Get yourself a nice clear view of this plug. I don't know if you guys can see that. All right, so I've already started taking this out. Like I said, I already tested to make sure there's no voltage. If there was, this thing would be turning red. So make sure you find, whatever breaker is controlling the plugs in whatever room you're working on. You can also use a power drill to make this go a little quicker. So anyway, once you get this thing out, you can expose the plug, and you have 2 neutrals, you have 2 blacks, and you have a ground. The black is your hot, the white are your neutral. And you'll see on the right side you have your brass colored connectors, which are your hots, and then oftentimes you'll see your the silver ones are going to be your neutrals. So I like to kind of expose this out so I can get, this is where the dikes come in. So if you have enough room, which it looks like we do, I just don't even like to pull these wires out. I just cut them right at the plug, because these are the old plugs. So this is where the dikes really come in handy. And I'll just cut these off and get the ground as close as I can. So here's your old shitty plug. This thing looks like this is a 1980s plug, right? It's a piece of shit. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my hots. These are your hot wires, and I have my neutrals here. And the way I'm gonna just do this is I'm gonna kind of keep the hots over to the right side. I'm gonna keep the neutrals kind of in the middle, and I'm gonna take my ground wire And I'm gonna try to straighten these out because this is gonna become important when you're using wire nuts. Take my ground wire and I'm gonna kind of put my ground wire over here for a second. So you have your ground, neutrals, hots. So this is actually a 12 gauge wire. So on your wire cutters or your wire strippers, you're gonna have a 12. So you wanna strip off like approximately a thumbnail length of wire. And when you kind of bite down on this, it's gonna be really easy with your, oh shit, I'm on 10. Gotta go to 12. Oops. Okay, so 12, there you go. So your little things are gonna have 12 on it. So that's about a thumbnail length amount of wire you're stripping off of there. And that's gonna be, that's going to, move that one out of the way. That's going to be approximately the amount of wire you're gonna wanna strip off the ends of your neutrals and your hots. And your ground is already obviously stripped, so you don't need to worry about that one. So there you go, there's a hot, there's that one, and then we got let's get this one here. Oh, it's a little I'll see we're that's why I like to kind of keep these. There we go. So now that we have those exposed, we're gonna go ahead and move our hots out of the way. We're gonna keep our neutrals kind of in the same area and in the middle, and then our ground is gonna be over here. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a clean, fresh Decora plug right here. And what I like to do is I'm going to use the top terminals. So I'm just going to go ahead and close these bottom terminals down, all the way down. We're not using those. We're just going to connect them all into one. So I'm going to close these top terminals, or I'm sorry, the bottom terminals all the way down, just to keep, you know, any shorts from happening. Like that. Our ground wire is a ground wire. Okay, so now we have closed those down. We got, see, you've got neutral on one side, we got hot, which is the brass side, on the other side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of our 12-2 wire, and we're going to cut probably, I would say, how do I really gauge that? You know, let's put it this way: enough wire that's going to fit inside of this box comfortably. So, geez, that stuff is really hard to cut. And what I do is take the nose of my pliers and I'll just push on the ends of that, and then I'll take this out of the sleeve, out of the plastic jacket. Now you have your ground wire, which take this paper off of it, and you have your white, your black, and your ground that's inside of that sleeve. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and, again, strip just a thumb length's end off of our wiring here. And I just like to do it on one end I just do it on one end. I'll do the other one later, just for now, because sometimes we have to cut the other end anyway because the wire is maybe too long. And what I'll do is, let's start on the neutral side. Take the end of my electrical pliers and I'll kind of bend it into like a little U, like that. And I'll take my top post. Oh, and by the way, you want to make sure you're hooking these on the way you're going to turn the screw. So with this one, I want to hook it in like that. See, now this one, I don't like that because I want it to go around the post. So I might just kind of give it like a little bite, so it kind of curls around the post a little better. And that seems to be fine. And then now we can do is just tighten the neutral up. Wait, did I do that wrong? I sure fucking did. Yeah, see, this is a good example of of what not to do, because you want your pigtail to go the other way. That's going to follow the screw. But you know what? That's going to work okay for now. Just don't do it like that when you're doing it. Ugh, okay. I made sure that was nice and fucking tight. Okay, same thing with the hot. We're going to pigtail it. Make like a little nice little U, but not too much of a U, because then you're going to have to, then you're going to screw yourself. And then what we're going to do is, remember, it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So we're going to go ahead and, oh, somebody's calling me. Let's see, how was that? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, hello. Is this Dustin?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I'm Alea. I'm with Local Energy Partners.
What?
I'm reaching out to let you know that.
You're wasting my time. You guys are spam calls. Jesus. Okay, so back. So again, we're going to be turning this to the. See, what I'd like to do is make sure this pigtail is nice and tight. There you go. Now we did this one correct way. So look, when you turn this, it's actually going to tighten itself around the post. So when you tighten this one down, it's going to tighten itself around the post. And you want to try to get these nice and tight, man. You don't want these breaking inside of your box and then shorting out later. So, you know, just tighten them down with like, just tighten them down like you have a pair, and you'll be fine. Oh, we forgot about the ground, so let's do the same thing for the ground. Let's go ahead and pigtail our ground here. That's pigtailed. Oh, we want to make sure we turn that around the correct way. Like that. See, I don't like that, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pinch that a little bit more so it goes in that groove. Now we can tighten it down. All this is considerably sped up with the use of a power drill, but I would recommend you doing it with a regular screwdriver your first couple times until you kind of get the hang of how tight these are supposed to feel. You don't want to break anything. Okay, so now that we have our plug wired up, what this is allowing us to do is if this plug fails, right, the circuit will still continue. It's not going to stop with the plug. See, if we wired these pole to pole like that and this circuit fails, it breaks the circuit, and then nothing past that will work. So that's why you do it like this, so that you're not, if this plug fails, your whole system doesn't fail, right? So now what I like to do is, since these hots are kind of bending up already, and then so are the neutrals, what I like to do is kind of pre-bend my wires so that when I push this all back into the box, it all kind of scrunches in, and it makes it nice and comfortable. So what I'll do is I'll take my hot, I'll bend it down, and I'll bend it back up, whatever is going to fit in the box. That's why I didn't do the ends, because I wanted to make sure that it's going to fit. And these are a little long in my ground. So you see how I kind of bend those? So when I push it in the box, it all squishes in. All right, so these are a little long. So what we can do is we can take, and that's why I didn't cut those, or that's why I didn't strip those ends, because I want to make sure that, here. See, that's why I like to have a pair of dikes, because it's just easier. And then we'll ground. So we cut those down a little bit, so now when it's going to fit in the box. Now I can strip these ends with my 12. So about a fingernail length. Get those off. Let's see, number 12 right here. Whoa, that's way too much. About a fingernail length right there. Oh shit, I'm on 10. Yeah. Okay, so now all of our wires are nice and ready to go, and they're set up the way we want. Now this is where our wire nuts are going to come in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black wire, my ground wire, I'm going to move over here, I have my neutral. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of set these up to where they're kind of both the same distance, because it's kind of hard to hold everything as you're wire nutting, and you're going to wire nut these all together. And you want to give it a couple twists, kind of get it started, and then what you can do is you can hold all three and you can just twist that son of a bitch. Oh yeah, baby. Give it a good twist like you got a pair. Don't be a bitch about it. And make sure you twist it real good, because you don't want these coming off and causing a fucking fire. All right. Now same thing with the neutrals. Look at that, they just all lined up already. So you want to twist this on like you got a pair. Oh look, see, this is getting in our way, so we can move this thing down. Don't be afraid to move your wires to get better access to your neutrals if you need to, because those are going to be in the middle in this scenario. Oh, and I'm twisting these like I got a pair. And you can pull on these too, by the way, to make sure they're not coming out of your wire nut. All right. Now I think the red wire nuts are a little big for the two grounds, but you know what? We don't have anything else right now, so we're just gonna go ahead and use the Magnum wire nut for this. Okay. And we want to make sure that we're giving this a good twist. And I see them kind of starting to bunch up. Now, where you're starting, now we can push these back together. And it's starting to look beautiful. Starting to look good. Starting to look like something, right? Let me take a drink of my ice cold drink here. Now this, my fine feathered friends, is where your electrical tape comes in. Because what I like to do is I like to wrap electrical tape around my connections. Because, I don't know, that's just how I was taught. Keep everything separated from one another, so when you're pushing this back in the box, nothing's touching something that's not supposed to be. And you don't got to go haywire with this tape. You can just tape it once. Now everything's connected. Now it's time, because you already prepped your wires the way you want them to be. Now you can just take all this crap and you can just push it all back into the box, and it's all gonna work out really nicely. And if it's not, you might have to give it a little persuasion. Now you take your screwdriver, and I like to start on the bottom screw because you can actually frickin' see it, and oh, son of a bitch. Well, son of a bitch. And I'll start, and I'll get that bottom screw going. You want to give that about 10 or 15 screws before you transition yourself to the top one, otherwise the bottom one will just pop right back out. Give that one about 10 or 15 screws. Oh, there you go. Now the plug's gonna set. And now these plugs here, they have an adjustable, they have a little play on the where it screws into the plug or into the box, so you can kind of move it around before you really cinch it. So that's what I'm saying here. Kind of turn that thing or manipulate it to where you want it now. Make sure that it's kind of up and down. It doesn't look all weird. Man, now you can get that son of a bitch cinched down the way you want it. There we go. Just like that. Oh. Yeah, so that looks good. So again, son of a bitch. So the reason that I'm doing it like this is because, like I said, this is the proper way to do it, because if something fails in this plug, your whole circuit's not going to fail, because it still can continue. So anyway, so thanks for watching. That's how you do your standard home electrical plug. I think the biggest thing to remember is just make sure that you're not hot. Make sure you turn off your breaker before you start the job, and all the rest just falls into place. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Cheers, and you have yourself a great day.